Hey guys, this is Raz with My Campaign Coach. And one of the questions that I hear a lot, both online and what I get asked in person, is okay, so I'm not ready to run for office today, but what can I do today or in the near future to help prepare myself for if I want to run for office down the line? So, a couple years, 5, 10, we have everybody from high schoolers to folks in college, folks that have a genuine heart for public service and know they're not going to be ready to run themselves anytime soon, but they want to get ready. They want to have that as an option and feel like they're doing something as they move through the next couple of years to put themselves on the map, so to speak. So I came together and I was thinking about that today, and I wrote down 7 things that I think are really important that if you do them, any or all of them, it's going to help move the ball forward and prepare you to run for office here in the future. The first one is read. Learning is absolutely essential, and I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make, including a mistake that I made coming out of college, was that I stopped reading as much. I'd been having books, and especially books I didn't want to read, that were just getting pushed in front of me, and I was being forced to read them time and time again for years, really most of my life, everywhere from the time when I learned to read on through college. And so it really turned me off in a lot of ways to a lot of the learning. And over the next couple of years, I think pretty much when I got about a year out from college, I really started rediscovering a hunger for learning and reading. And these are books that I got to pick. And so I do that a lot. Right now in the Iron Sharpens Iron mastermind groups that I'm a part of and help with my business and living significantly, I read new books every month, and I really believe it's important that we keep learning in a big way. So I read books like Extreme Ownership by Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. I just finished up one called Ego is the Enemy. I do a lot of reading on the personal development side, try to make sure that I am always looking for ways to improve myself and new interesting things that I can open up. The second is to speak. Obviously, as a public servant, somebody's run for office, you're going to be talking to a lot of people. It's going to be in all kinds of situations, from potentially big arenas or big forums, all the way down to just one-on-one. And your ability to be confident as you're speaking publicly, whether it's to one person or thousands, is critical. So maybe it involves you speaking more at your church, or getting more involved in Rotary or something like that, or joining a group called Toastmasters, where you're learning how to extemporaneously speak much better and getting a lot of feedback and constructive criticism from folks that are around you and have similar objectives. But get out there and just practice speaking. The more you do, the better you'll be. And as you're doing that, make sure you focus on concision. So the Winston Churchill and Mark Twain both have quotes that talk about how they didn't have time to write a short letter or a short speech, so they wrote a long one instead, or a long letter in Twain's case. And the fact is that when you're writing or when you're preparing to speak, it's really easy to speak for long amounts of time. It seems counterintuitive, but the fact is that it's a lot easier for us to ramble. And I get really wrapped up in that if I don't kind of walk out and kind of work out an outline ahead of time like I did today on the things I want to talk about. And I'll find myself chasing rabbit trails or doing something else. But the fact is, if you write it out, if you work from your outlines, if you figure out what you need to be talking about and what truly matters, and especially if you start thinking about the words that are most effective for communicating that, you're going to be in much better shape. And you'll really stand out as a public speaker. 3 is write. This is everything from writing thank you notes, which is something that I've been working on a lot in the last couple of years. Really, written communication, especially the personal hard copy stuff, is really a lost art in today's world. But it carries a weight because of that is hard to quantify, just because it's so large. And if you will start cultivating those relationships and using that as a medium for building them and showing how serious you are about the people you're communicating with, it's going to definitely pay off in spades. But the flip side of that is I also recommend journaling more and writing more just for your own consumption. Don't make this something that somebody might read or use to write your autobiography, your biography someday. These are your thoughts. And part of the importance of that is that you have to get to know yourself better and better. Because once you're running for office or getting into office, you're going to be constantly surrounded by people whose best interest is not always focused in the same direction as yours. And so you have to know yourself very well. Most of the politicians we see today that lose face, that get into problems, and that find themselves debased are not done. It doesn't happen to them because of external forces. It's all about what happens inside. They didn't know themselves well enough, and specifically, they didn't know how to effectively curb those negative tendencies that they had. And so as you journal and you spend more time in deep thought and considering yourself and how to make yourself better, I believe that you're going to find a lot of those things come out in your writing, and they'll really come out in your head, even if you don't write them down. It's also going to give you a place to reflect back and figure out where you're strong, where you're weak over time, and how to make yourself better. The 4th is to serve. I'm a big believer in, especially as a public servant, you're going to be serving. That should be your job. And I think that through service, we learn a lot about ourselves, and we get to have an immense amount of help towards the people that are around us. This could be working at a soup kitchen, delivering Meals on Wheels, getting more active in your church, leading a Bible study, volunteering as a coach for your kids' soccer team. But finding and putting yourselves in situations where you are actively serving others. There's no short-term payoff for you, regardless of what you're doing. You're focused on helping those around you selflessly. And that's really important, the selfless side of it. Because we're talking about politics and preparing to run for office. These are things that we're not doing because they're going to help us win a campaign someday. We're doing them because they're the right things to do. They're going to make us better people, and then they're going to make the world around us better and stronger and hopefully more loving. And if they happen to help us down the line when we run for office, that's great. But that's not at its core going to be why we're doing them. So find ways to serve those around you. Next, we're talking about work. This is just the fact. You need to work hard. You need to make money. You need to build relationships. You need to build a track record of doing good work, finding ways to build jobs, showing that you can perform under pressure, and learning about yourself and the environments that you perform well under. So work hard. This is something that a lot of people, especially the folks coming out of high school or college, many of them think that, hey, I can run a short sprint, get out there, be 25, and run for office, and that's going to be it. And that's not how it works. We need to focus on living a full life of work of one form or another. Now, hopefully this doesn't always mean that we're going to be in some trench digging, back-breaking type of labor, but we want to focus on working hard in whatever field God's given us to toil in and making sure that we're maximizing our impact. Because I know that when I look at people that I want to put in public office and vote for or work for, it's the people that work hard and have sacrificed and have done consistent hard work that win out in my mind. 6 is going to be start a business. This kind of falls on the work side. This is a great way for you to show how you can create jobs, how you can handle responsibility, handle a ton of obstacles, and create something out of nothing. This a lot of the lessons you learn when you're starting a business are critical lessons that you learn when you're starting a campaign. And so this can put you really far ahead of the curve, I think, when it comes to figuring out what it's going to take to win a campaign and how you're actually going to go through that. And you're going to work hard. You're going to build the systems necessary. You're going to know how to hire people and what people you need to keep off your team. You're going to learn about yourself and how you manage well and how you need to find people that complement your weaknesses or that augment your strengths. So starting a business is a great way to learn all those things and to do it before you ever have a campaign start. And 7th, I think, is the most important one. This is the idea of listening. You need to learn how to listen. Most people, when they start talking about politics and run for office, they focus on the speaking one. But the truth is, your ability to speak is not going to ultimately impact in as big a way your ability to serve as your ability to listen. And if I were to pull the audience and say, what is one of the biggest frustrations you have with politicians today, whether it's school board, city council, up to the presidency, is that they don't listen. So what you need to do is you need to focus on learning and listening. For me, I love talking. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't be doing Facebook Live right now or doing this coaching work. But something I've tried hard to do over the last couple of years, and as I've kind of built through some of that maturity into my late 20s and now early 30s, is that I've tried to find people to listen to. And these are not always some wise sage or a Tony Robbins or a Jocko Willink or Ted Cruz or anybody like that. These are people that I'm around. Because the truth is, every conversation that I have, I should be willing and able to learn something from that. Asking why, asking how, just closing your mouth. Those are all ways that you can cultivate listening and learning from other people. We had Dr. Brian Bird on the podcast a few weeks ago. He's a city council candidate that came through our coaching program and that I worked with a lot. And one of the most valuable things he did on the campaign trail, and this is true of nearly every winning candidate out there, is he listened. When he went to somebody's door, out of the thousands of doors that he knocked, and he was talking to somebody, he would always ask them, what are the things that you think need to be done differently at the city level? What are your frustrations? And then he just shut up and listened. And as he did that, he was able to hear from them. And when they got done talking, and he didn't rush them, he didn't cut them off, he didn't try to explain how he totally understood that and had a plan to stop that or fix that, he just listened. And as he did that, when they got done, he said, so what I'm hearing is, and then he restate their issue back to them or their point of view. Because it was really important. And in his case, he learned that as a doctor, being in a patient's room, dealing with health problems. That might have been very serious. But when he applied it to politics, as so many people do, what he found was that people were flabbergasted. The idea that somebody was listening that they were just shutting up long enough to hear them, let them talk. But the true listening side came out of once they stopped talking. They recognized through that conversation that, wow, he hadn't just been having his own thoughts going on in the back of his head. He was actually listening. And so that takes a lot of time to really learn how to do that, because it takes some maturing, it takes some experience to really focus on listening. And that's going to help you a lot when it comes to building those relationships as well. We don't want to have relationships with people that just always talk about themselves nonstop and you can't get them to shut up. We want to build with relationships where it's going to be a two-way street, and where you and I can build relationships with each other by talking back and forth. So on that note, I want to invite you guys to talk back and forth with us, because I love talking, I love doing videos, and love helping out, but I really love is interacting with people. And when I'm sitting here on this side of the computer, I can't do a whole lot as far as interaction side unless I'm hearing from y'all. So I would love to hear more and more about the questions that y'all are asking, that y'all would love us to create videos or social media posts about. And as you're looking around our blog and podcast, if you feel like giving us a review, you can give us 5 stars on iTunes or 5 stars over here at Facebook and help us spread the word. We love doing what we do, and we want to have an impact. We want to work hard and create a lot of value for the movement. So if you can help us spread the word, we'd really appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all guys later.